IDEA's guidance is really, if you're using for summative evaluation purposes, the best thing to do is to think about it in terms of these 5 bands and decide on a comparison group that you want to use. If you wanted to use the average scores, we'd have to come up with some kind of criteria reference system on a program-by-program basis or a faculty member-by-faculty member basis and say, well, you got to get above 4, and if you get above 4, then you're fine. That's not historically how we've done it here. Here it's always been in comparison to somebody else, to something else. Right? So going forward, we can decide we want to compare ourselves to the IDEA database. We look good in terms of the IDEA database, I'll be honest. We have, when you look at that distribution, I did a scatter plot where I looked at the average scores, the adjusted scores versus the raw scores, and we're way up on the upper end of that. Right? It's not at all the distribution that I expect to see. It's not a normal, it's kind of a normal distribution, but it's weighted towards the high and higher. Okay? It moves down a little bit when you look at the disciplinary code, but still we look very good. Our teaching here is quite excellent. We'll have the USU scores, and I'll be curious to see what that looks like. Obviously, we're comparing ourselves to ourselves, so we'll have some kind of norm distribution there. So IDEA says you should use these broad bands, factor in the fact that they account for standard deviation, so we're not just looking at random walk or sampling error or something else. Assuming we have good response rates and good sample sizes, we should be seeing real differences when you look between the bands of highest, higher, similar, lower, lowest. Right? So, all the support that we can get from the deans and the associate deans and the department heads to kind of repeat this and talk it through and come to an agreement that that's what we're looking at, I think that kind of clarity of guidance is very helpful for faculty. I think it's very helpful for the administration. It's not something, I'm a facilitator, not a potentate, so I can suggest that this is the way we should do it and then facilitate a discussion to come to that agreement. And I think we had to have a certain base of doing it for a certain period of time before people could even look at results and say, does this jive kind of with what I expect to see, or are there things here that concern me?